Well, you're watching Newsmax, which exists because of our next guest, Chris Ruddy. He founded Newsmax, and he is the CEO. It started 22 years ago. We now have one of the most busy websites in the world, and our cable presence is expanding. We're on in 70 million homes, and it's growing. Chris, I feel a little funny welcoming you to the show. I mean, all of this is yours, but thank you very much.
Well, this is your show, so I'm glad to be on it and honored to be on it. We're really excited about the cable TV. Our viewership numbers, as you know, are like off the charts. We're over close to 200% increase in viewership in the past 6 months, which is great.
Sir, do you sense an opportunity for us? Let's face it, Fox News is a rival, maybe a friendly rival, but something of a competitor. And the president, as you know, has been on something of a warpath occasionally against Fox News. Today, he said, excuse me, but what the hell has happened to Fox News? And he calls it pathetic how they are trying to be so politically correct by loading their airways with Democrats. Is this an opening for us?
Well, I think that the president's a little frustrated because he looks at networks like CNN and MSNBC, especially where it's almost 100%. I would say certainly on MSNBC, it's 100% criticism of the president day and night. They don't even have, if they have a Republican, it's a Republican that hates Donald Trump. So then he sees Fox trying to be a little more fair and balanced, as they used to say. You know, he said to me a couple of months ago, he said Fox was 60% good for him. And I laughed. I said, I think it's closer to 80 or 90. And you know, I think he's sensitive about the coverage. I understand that. I think someone like Chris Wallace, you know, I always do the test. Did he ask these tough questions during the Obama years? And in Chris Wallace's case, he did. You know, so, and I think a network that's big like Fox, it can have some different voices. The president can also be very critical of them, and that's fine. And, you know, at Newsmax, you know, we try to have a lot of different voices. I think we're generally very supportive of the president, but also we have people that are critical. It's going to be true in any TV network. I don't see Fox as the enemy. I think that Newsmax complements Fox, but I think there's a danger, Greg, when one network has so much influence over everyone in the country that's center-right.
So you mentioned your relationship with the president. You are a friend. You are also from time to time a critic. You've got great sources. What is your sense right now in the impeachment trial about witnesses after John Bolton's apparent revelation that he has information, direct information, that the president ordered the aid withheld at one point? Do you think the momentum towards witnesses is gaining?
I believe that the witnesses are inevitable. Now, I'm not getting that from the president, but I haven't talked to him about it. But I am hearing from a number of people. I have some very good congressional sources. I know a lot of senators and congressmen, and people are talking. And the Bolton thing has definitely shifted the ground, as some people are saying. I don't think witnesses at the end of the day hurts the president. I think they made a strategic error, his defense team, by not having a process that had maybe 2 witnesses for the defense, 2 witnesses for the House managers, and just had that sort of scheduled and what the known quantities were, and it would take 2 weeks and prepare it and all done and over. Now you have a situation where it looks like the president's team is losing ground when they're really not, but it's the optics here what counts.
Newsmax contributor Alan Dershowitz, the noted constitutional lawyer, scholar and professor emeritus at Harvard University. He was front and center last night. Interesting argument from him, and I think a very compelling one.
Purely non-criminal conduct, including abuse of power and obstruction of Congress, are outside the range of impeachable offenses. Quid pro quo alone is not a basis for abuse of power. It's part of the way foreign policy has been operated by presidents since the beginning of time.
My understanding is his assertion is even if the president did it, it's not impeachable. How do you think of his performance in the argument?
Well, I think that nothing that the Democrats and the House managers have presented yet is evidence of a crime. And I think that's important, although it's not declarative. You know, I agree with the National Review that says any president could be impeached even if they didn't commit a technical crime. I believe that that's the constitutional interpretation of the impeachment clause, that Congress itself determines what is a crime and not. and not a crime. However, I believe that this president has not committed anything that is any crime. He didn't break any known law, first, and second, what happened here and what has been alleged about what happened here in the Ukraine is not worthy of impeachment. And if anything, it's worthy of congressional oversight and hearings, and then the public to decide the election, which is really just a few months away, several months away, in November.
You wrote in Newsmax.com that you believe this is indeed a hoax. You use the word the great ruse in our country's history. The ruse has become increasingly obvious to many. Question to you about that. Do you think there are people out there, open-minded people on impeachment, that they actually are being swayed by the evidence both outside of Congress and in Congress? Or were their minds made up from the very beginning, and they're looking at the evidence through that prism? They already know it, and they're kind of picking and choosing what they want to pay attention to?
I think both. I think there's a huge chunk on both sides that are just firmly committed. There's a swing, let's say 10% out there that can go either way. The data is out today. Real Clear Politics just announced that Donald Trump hit the highest ever in approval ratings on their average since he became president. Amazing that that's happening right in the middle of this impeachment trial in the Senate. So I think the public is moving in his direction. If you look at the ABC poll over the weekend, it showed that real serious decline in support for Senate removal of the president. Considering how divided we are, I think the momentum is clearly in favor of the president. But I think it's important, again, that I think the president's team has handled themselves tremendously well. Alan is a friend of mine. Alan did tremendously well. He's a liberal Democrat, but on the constitutional issues as he sees them, the president's not guilty of an impeachable crime, and that's the only question that really matters.
You know, yesterday was an interesting day in that the president's defense team, they were able to talk about alleged corruption of the Bidens, Burisma, all of those things that they would bring up in the impeachment hearings, and then they were cut off, perhaps, or run out of time. Jim Jordan, Matt Gaetz, they could never get any kind of momentum, and now they have hours and hours to put those theories out. I think they are making progress. It may not be covered by much of the media, but they are making progress there. Do you agree?
Well, I also think, look at the travesty of the way the House treated this impeachment. It was done in a couple of weeks. They really shut down the president. But look at how Mitch McConnell and the Senate Republicans, nobody's stopping the Democrats. They get equal time. In fact, they're going to take more time than the president's defense team. And the public gets a much better idea of what's going on. And I think the president's team will win. This is what the Democrats don't like. They don't want a fair and balanced environment. And the Bolton thing, I mean, look at all the negative press on this. I think the timing on this is not good and not helpful. I'm very disappointed in John Bolton for having written this book while the president is in office, facing and reelected now in an impeachment trial.
This is heavy stuff. An impeachment trial. The president potentially could be removed from office. We don't think it's going to happen, but there is that potential. Meanwhile, he seems to be enjoying himself. Met with Bibi Netanyahu today, a very warm meeting, and he'll be in New Jersey tonight. He's there right now, and he enjoys those rallies. I can't imagine any other president coping and almost in a way thriving in these kinds of circumstances.
I've always said, Greg, this guy is wired differently than the rest of us. You know, he walks on fire and he enjoys it. Most of us want to run away from fire, right? So he doesn't affect him, but he's very focused, and this comes out of his business success, on results. And the results he's had are tremendous. Nobody can argue. In fact, the Democrats are signing on. They just did the USMCA deal with him. The bill signing, I think, is this week. So, you know, the results speak for themselves, and I think he knows that at the end of the day, so that's his calm and his confidence comes from that.
Chris Ruddy, founder and CEO of Newsmax. Sir, thank you for joining us, and thank you for Newsmax.
Thank you.
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing news channel, now in 65 million homes. Get Newsmax TV on all the major cable systems or go to newsmaxtv.com and click on the Find Newsmax tab to locate us. Remember, Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.